Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is going to be a presentation on the Invest in Your Health for the ASHCA Tools of the Trade Safety Tool presentation. My name is Nisha Rose Davison, and I serve as the Public Health Program Director with AgriSafe Network. So just a little bit about AgriSafe if you're not familiar. Our tagline is protecting the people who feed the world. So all of our work is really centered around these following things. So we want to do an ongoing needs assessment of ag producer needs following a total farmer health model, which I will briefly discuss. We also train rural health professionals across the nation who work with ag producers such as yourself. We also have established partnerships with organizations like the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, with their ag centers, their rural research centers, and other nonprofit organizations. And then lastly, we maintain a culture of readiness and organizational expectation to protect and respond. So for example, in the early days of the pandemic, AgriSafe with NIOSH Ag Centers and several other partners did a 2-month series. I believe it was 9 weeks, where we focused on information, how to protect people in the ag industry and their employees. And this is before information was readily available. And then we like to stay in that position to be able to get information out as quickly as possible. Here is our total farmer health model. We know that a number of ag operations are small family farms, and we know that where you live and work can impact your health, especially if it's often in the same environment. And so these are all components that relate to our total farmer health model, looking at things like our regular everyday hazards, like our respiratory hazards, our chemical and pesticides, working with large machinery and livestock, for example. Those are kind of our common factors. We all know about that. We're kind of ready to respond to those type of things, but we sometimes don't think about extreme weather events, how if a farm floods or if there's a wildfire, how does that impact people working in ag? Depending on what your operation did in the previous year, how does that impact your access to healthcare? If it's a busy season for harvest, are you getting enough sleep, and how does that impact your overall health? And other things such as, are you fit to do the type of work in terms of physical capabilities for the type of physical work that you have to do, and things like being socially connected. It's been especially difficult during the pandemic when we're asked to stay apart, for the safety and well-being, but that can pose its own challenges. And so today, just to kind of get into what our topic at hand is, it's the Invest in Your Health program. So this was meant to be a train the trainer program, really targeted towards ag educators who are working with youth between 14 and 23 years of age. I should say youth and young adults working in ag, especially for the first time. But we've gotten a lot of requests from employers and different folks in ag operations on some of these very topics. So we felt that it was very appropriate to do a tools of the trade for this presentation. And we actually have 6 target areas or modules, if you will, that we focus on, and I'll mention that briefly. But they're really designed to empower you as the lead or the health and safety professional at your operation in terms of training on some of these initial topics. Again, especially if they're new to working in ag or working at your operation for the first time, it would be a great way to incorporate trainings. So what is the course, and what are the materials that are involved with it? So the course is the Invest in Your Health course, which covers 6 topics, which are cover up, head to toe personal protective equipment, hazard mapping in agriculture, which physically looks at your work site, Say What, which focuses on hearing protection or hearing loss prevention, Stay Cool is prevention of heat-related illness, Zoonosis, stopping zoonosis in its tracks, or things that can spread between humans and animals. And then we have a new topic that looks at cultivating a healthy mind, which is really mental wellness for youth. But again, it gives great tips on how to manage stress and anxiety, and I think we could all benefit from that information. Lastly, again, if you are that health and safety professional or person that is wearing that hat on your ag operation. We also have digital badges available for social media, or also a signature line that you could show that you've invested additional time in learning of these different materials. So I just wanted to share that video, just a brief snapshot of what the Invest in Your Health training materials incorporate. And you saw some of that in some brief images there. So where does all of this information live? It actually lives on our AgriSafe Learning Lab. It's our learning management system, all web-based. And that's where you're going to find all of these training materials and resources associated with that training. So before we actually go to the live demo, this shows you just kind of an example of the home page. The AgriSafe Learning Lab, again, can be found at learning.agrisafe.org. And it's going to bring you to a home page that looks a little like this. So this is where you're going to see the existing webinars that are available, the courses, which is where you're going to find the Invest in Your Health materials, and then a resource library that has a number of fact sheets and related PDFs on various topics that are free to access. So we're going to switch over to the live AgriSafe Learning Lab to kind of do a brief demonstration of where these materials are and how you could actually utilize them. So let's go back to the home page here. So here you will see this is the AgriSafe Learning Lab, the learning management system, and this is the home page. One thing that I did not show you, it's going to be at the top right-hand corner. There's going to be a tab to sign in if you don't have an account. I have had an account, so it recognizes my computer, thankfully. But what you would do is actually go here and start a guest account, which requires your first name, last name, and an email address to access this. And these are free materials with Invest in Your Health, and a number of materials on our site are actually free to access. And it would just require those three things: first name, last name, and email address to actually log in to be able to share information about the courses you're interested in. So here we are under the courses material. We're going to click on the Browse Now, and it's going to pull you to the courses page. There are two options: Invest in Your Health, Train the Trainer, which is again for that health lead or that health and safety professional at your farm operation, and Nurse Scholar course. We want today Invest in Your Health, Train the Trainer. So we would click on that, and it's going to bring you to a page that lists all of the 6 modules that are available. As mentioned, cultivating a healthy mind, mental wellness, hazard mapping, say what for hearing loss prevention, prevention of zoonotic disease, personal protective equipment, and then stay cool, prevention of heat-related illness. And so, mind you, all the contents, which is each component, which is the Train the Trainer for the health and safety professional, the instructor guidebook, all the activities, any assessments, all of that is going to be available on this page. There is a brief overview that again mentions the 6 courses and what it's for. Again, the primary target are ag educators, but they can also be used for health and safety professionals. This just kind of gives a shout out to our speakers and contributors who helped create content and actually deliver the training materials that's recorded that you would actually see. So back to the content space. This is the tab. We would just click on the tab to get access to all of the course material. And so initially here you have the Train the Trainer, which is about a 30 to 45 minute approximate presentation that talks to you as the lead safety professional about what's included, what are the materials that are listed here. So this is a previously recorded video that would pop up. It's about 40 minutes here. And so that's just kind of an example of how we start the course for the Train the Trainer. We go over the topic to give a little bit of basic information on what the topic is, why is it important that we cover it, and then we go into each aspect of the training opportunity. So there is a post-test available that asks questions. This could be used if you want to quiz employees, or if you just want to, make it learning fun, or tailgate training, just something to kind of focus in on what are we talking about, why is it important. This can or cannot be used based on your need there. So just some questions here if you are looking for assessment. Again, they don't have to be used, but they are available if you would like to bring that up. Let's see here. Also, we have in this space the actual classroom content. So again, this is going to be a shorter version. It goes directly to the intended audience. So for this, it was the young worker, the young adult. This could be played. It's about 30 minutes. It could be broken up. You could actually watch the Train the Trainer and use components of that if you want to do like a tailgate training or kind of a safety circle and discuss these topics. But these things are available to listen and use as you so choose. And then lastly, there is an instructor guidebook, which actually has all the information laid out. So it has a summary of the topic. It has some quizzes, tools, case studies if you really want to dig into the topic itself. It has copies of the quiz that you can use and reproduce for your training needs. And then lastly, again, is a new digital badge. This is something that has been just hot off the press, developed into December of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just kind of a way to show that you've invested in your learning. You can add it to your signature line if you have a professional email that you utilize. You could add it to social media sites like LinkedIn if you have a professional page that you utilize for your business. It just shows that you've invested extra time in learning this safety content. And then there's an overall course evaluation that helps AgriSafe continue to develop those resources that are available. So this is the space, again, inside of the AgriSafe Learning Lab. It is free to use. These materials are available at your own speed. There's no actual course order that you would need to access any of these training materials. And then we at AgriSafe are available should you have any questions or just want to creatively use this content to train your employees. We're available to discuss that, or if you need support, for example, for us to come in or do a virtual training for your group, we are available. And so back to the presentation here, I kind of gave you a very brief topic overview of the content for the Stay Cool Prevention of Heat-Related Illness. And that's a overview for the trainer, an overview for the student or employee, if you will, classroom activities, which can be utilized if you want to do in-depth training, but there's also some tools that are available. For one, this OSHA NIOSH heat safety tool. Most workers may have access to a phone or a smartphone. This is a free app that really talks about heat and what is the heat index for the day? What are some recommendations for the day? What are some common heat-related illnesses, and what are some signs and symptoms, and what should you do if there is need for a medical emergency? So it lists that out, and that's a great tool to have your workers download on their phone and have access to. And of course, for quiz assessment type things, if you choose to utilize that, that is available as well. So here are some other examples of topics. Stop zoonosis in its tracks. This really talks about the relationship between animals and humans, animals and people while working, and some of those risks. We have a great presentation from a veterinarian student who has been a young AgriSafe advisor several years back and now has contributed to our education materials. And so it just talks about the importance of what are some of the zoonotic diseases, what are some of the vectors, how do you prevent those things. And so we created a game, which is, again, target youth and young adults. However, it could be a great learning activity to just highlight some of those safety concerns. Hazard mapping for agriculture is another great opportunity that could be used during when it's not your busy time, kind of before the spring season picks up, to remind current employees and new employees, really mapping out your ag site. What are some of the low, medium, and high risk? Can they be reduced? How do you point those out to workers? What are some of those risks? And we have tools that talk about chemical and pesticide exposure, livestock, ergonomic issues, really thinking really deeply about your site and how can you protect your workers and making them mindful of what those concerns are so they can be safe on the job. And so that's a great activity, a safety exercise that can be used. This is an example if you're acclimating new employees to working with machinery, grain, or livestock, for example. Examples of what type of personal protective and safety, personal protective equipment is available for their safety. So talking through what some of those things are and what they need and having access to those equipment in the areas that they needed would be great. And so these are some worksheets that really talk about that. And these materials are scheduled for translation into Spanish by mid-2020 as well. And so this is an example of the digital badge that I was mentioning for the Invest in Your Health program. This is an example. You would get one for each topic. There are 6 topics. And then you would actually get one for the overall course. So you can actually get an Invest in Your Health Scholar completion badge that could go on your, again, signature line or social media. Or you can actually get an individual badge for the courses that are more relevant to your work. And so again, that's Say What, protecting your hearing, Cover Up, looking at head to toe personal protective equipment, Stay Cool for prevention of heat-related illness, stopping zoonosis in its tracks, prevention of zoonosis, and then the hazard mapping for ag, as well as cultivating a healthy mind for mental wellness. And so these are all available as digital badges, which is an excellent new feature. And so that's just, again, an overview of the Invest in Your Health program, how to access it through the AgriSafe Learning Lab. I know this was really brief. However, we wanted to just give you a brief introduction and hope that you would utilize these tools or give us a call, contact us if there's any questions or concerns that you have about how to best utilize it at your on your operation. So again, my name is Nisha Rose Davison. Here is my contact information, and I look forward to hearing from you about our Invest in Your Health program and ways that we can support safety for your ag employees. Thanks so much for your time.